Welcome to the Veranda Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Christine Mills. On the Veranda Entrepreneur Podcast, I feature entrepreneurs while I discuss ways you can grow your business today. Step onto the veranda, get a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's talk shop. Let's do this. Welcome to the Veranda Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Christine Mills. Today we have I'm really excited about this guest, by the way. Her name is Malene Barnett. And Malene Barnett is an artist, activist, and authority on the cultural traditions and practices of art in the African diaspora and into her vision of the modern Black experience. Malene Barnett is a founder of the Black Artists and Designers Guild, independent Black artists, makers, and designers. Her work has been praised in Interior Design Magazine, New York Magazine, Traditional Home, Elle Decor, HGTV Magazine, Luxe and Design Magazine, and House Beautiful. Her entrepreneurial spirit was captured in the New York Times bestselling book, In the Company of Women. Malene's clients include Marriott, Viacom, Saks, WeWork, Avalon Communities, and the MetLife Building. Welcome to the Veranda, Malene.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to show. So before we begin, I always like to get our guests, and I see that you're from Connecticut, and we started that conversation before we went online. So tell us a little bit about you as a child and where you grew up and how your childhood shaped where you are today.
Yeah, well, I grew up in a small town called Norwalk, Connecticut, and I grew up by the beach. My mother still lives there, and my older sister's in a town nearby called Fairfield. Well, as a child, You wouldn't believe it, but I was a serious tomboy.
Really?
Serious. I was not interested in anything related to quote unquote being a girl. I remember my sister would try to pay me to wear a skirt. I just wanted to play sports and play in the mud and, climb trees. And, but I also had I had a fun childhood. We had a yard, and I was exposed to music and art at a very young age because my mother was a classical pianist. And
oh, wow.
My mother came from St. Vincent to the U.S., and she came as she studied classical piano. And she wanted all of her daughters to experience that. So, so I started playing violin first and then the piano. And I eventually gave that up to do art.
Nice. Well, I guess they all kind of merge into each other, right? Art,
it's true.
whether it's music or, yeah. So you're using the same part of your brain. So Norwalk is actually one of my favorite towns in Connecticut. I'm originally from South Florida, by way of Jamaica, and we lived in Hartford.
Jamaica.
My husband's from Hartford.
That's Jamaica. My father's from Jamaica.
Oh, okay. So we actually have two. Before this interview, I thought of two things we had in common. We had three things in common. One is that we both lived in Connecticut. We both lived in Connecticut. Actually, four things. I used to live in Brooklyn as well.
Wow.
And then we're both from the Caribbean. And my mother name is Cynthia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is So my mom's name is Cynthia as well. So a lot of similarities.
OMG.
So yeah, Norwalk, it seems like a really nice place it's very scenic and beautiful, and it's a really beautiful town.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm glad I grew up there because it actually, I appreciate the suburban life, especially after living in the city. I'm in Brooklyn, but, it's like a kind of a mix of the suburbs and the city. And so I have a high appreciation when I do go out to Connecticut.
Right. It's very, growing up in South Florida, and you'll watch the sitcoms, and you're like, the opening scene, they show these homes. And I used to grow up where are these homes that they're talking about? I've never seen homes like that, these nice colonial. And then when I moved up north, I was like, oh, so this is what they were showing on Growing Pains and all these other shows. To South Florida. An understanding of your background. So What schools did you go to for art? Did you start doing art like when you were in middle school? When did you start exploring art beyond?
Well, it's funny, my art started when I was in the third grade.
Okay.
I was selected for an artistically talented program, and we were able to draw and paint on a weekly basis. And,
Nice.
it continued from there. But like I said earlier, I was playing the violin and the piano, and when I got to high school, you weren't able to take both music and art. So I had to choose, and in 10th grade is when I decided to, drop the violin and pursue painting, art class. And I really focused on painting at the time because that's what I knew. And I applied to art school. I had a very supportive art teacher, Mary Quinlan, and she's still in my hometown, and she's friends with my mother, so we're still connected. And, she really helped us, like, create a portfolio, and she was like, you're going to art school. And she got us ready, it was really good. So I went to SUNY Purchase first to study painting and photography in Purchase, New York. And then after that, I actually transferred to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, and that's what brought me into New York.
Well, that's nice that your parents are very supportive of your interest in art.
Yes,
I find that it was something that was encouraged.
Very much so, very much so. I'm glad my mother, she was an educator. I mean, she's retired now, but, she really believed that for her children, they had to figure out what their calling was. And, she created a space and foundation for us to figure it out on our own.
Right. That's awesome. And so you recently wrote an Instagram post detailing your journey to a profitable artist and entrepreneur. Tell us about how you manifested that vision into reality.
I think it's about really focusing on what it is that I wanted to create. And I say this for any artist. I mean, we're going to go through different disciplines or mediums and products. And the thing is that you have to decide for yourself, what is it that really, energizes you when it comes to being creative, And I realized I only wanted to focus on, creating things that I really love to do. And I mean, it's taken a while to get there, but I feel that by staying focused on what it is that I love, that's what's helped me to be in the place that I'm in right now.
Right. And you have decided to also specialize in carpet design, which is very much a niche part of the business. How did you go about deciding to do that, as well as how were you able to successfully scale your business and garner such major clients such as Marriott, Viacom, and Saks?
I tell you, it was a lot of work. I'll tell you that much. But I was exposed to carpet design when I was at FIT. We had a carpet design class, and that's when I first learned about it. Because think about it: how many people do you know who make carpets or design carpets? It's not something you hear. Exactly. But it was a class that really showed me that you could use art, you could incorporate color, there's texture, it had a three-dimensional element to it, and then many people could experience it. And that was very intriguing to me. And, soon after college, after my first job, which was a textile designer, I got a job as a rug designer at a manufacturer. And then I learned about the business. And I was still interested in learning more, but I also wanted to have my own voice. And, of course, when you work with corporate, you don't necessarily get to express your creativity the way that you want to. And so when it was time for me to start my own business, I decided, you know what, I'm going to focus on carpets, but I want to do it from my point of view, and I want them to be artistic and have a cultural relevance. I'm very interested in handmade, and so that's why I work with weavers in Nepal and India mostly. And, I look at carpet as another form of art, but it's functional art.
Right. So is it a lot of pitching for you to get the clients, like Marriott? Do you pitch your work and then Or
Well,
is it,
there's a lot. It's a lot involved. We have to
okay.
understand when you understand. But to be honest, this goes for any product, whether it's carpet, but selling to the interior design trade. It involves a lot of marketing and knowing who you want to target, and then also once you understand who you want to target, you have to understand how are you going to get to those people. In the industry, there are many trade shows, there are many opportunities to network. And what I did was I networked like crazy for many years, going to every event, reading the magazines, figuring out who are the decision makers, and then starting to ask people, oh, who do I need to know, what events I should be, and blah, blah, blah. And it's taken years, to have these name brands on in my portfolio. It didn't just happen overnight,
right?
But it's been a constant networking and marketing over the past 10 plus years.
Wow. Yeah, people always say, show me an overnight success. That person's been working for 20 years to get to that point. So I'm happy you brought that up. That is so true. And, I like that, the fact that you have ability to be very historically artwork, but you can make it very mainstream for your clients. How are you able to balance the two?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a challenge, because a lot of the custom work that I've done for clients, it may not necessarily be what I want, but what I realize is that I'm a vessel to the creativity behind my work, and I'm actually helping people visualize something that they are not able to do. And that's why they're calling me. And so the work that I do for those clients, I do it, but I don't necessarily love every pattern, I'll be honest. But, that's part of the job, of being a rug designer and working custom. But what I've decided to do is I've taken more of a shift and taking more ownership to the work and deciding that, this is my voice, this is the work that I do. And now the designers come to me more for the work that I'm presenting versus me trying to translate their ideas.
Right. And how long is the process, like from beginning to end? They like your design.
Yeah. The process is months, actually.
Okay.
Because, I'll just to give you a sample, you like the design, it's approved, then we have to go into production for sampling. And I order a 12-inch strike-off sample, which takes about 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 3 to 4 weeks. It just depends on the time of the year and what the production schedule. That sample comes back, send it to the client has to approve it. Then we go into production, and production could take between 8 and 12 weeks. That depends on the size of the rug. So, we're talking at least a 3 to 4 month process to get the rug.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that is a while. So they pretty much bring you in earlier on in the project. So when it's done, they're not waiting around for the carpet.
Yeah. And people have to understand when you're working on custom products or, not just rugs, it's custom. It's a process. Human beings are making it. There's also the possibility for mistakes. There's going to be delays, but it's a part of the process.
Right. That is true. So I see that you go to a lot of artist retreats, and tell us about the importance of honing in your skills.
Well, I think it's very important for me to learn different techniques. And, all of us, we learn in different ways. And I realize for myself, I do like to read books. I like to do research, but I also like to experience. And that's another form of learning for me. And I want to be able to say that I went to, for my last workshop, I was in Ghana, West Africa, and I had learned about different hand building techniques, but, and I thought that was great looking at beautiful pictures and reading, but I wanted to experience it working alongside the actual masters of that craft. And so that's why it's really important for me to, travel and experience something first, have the hands-on experience.
Right. And it shows on your artwork. I mean, it's not just like some cliche. You really give the background of it and the history of it, and it really allows people to connect even deeper on a deeper level with your artwork. And speaking of which, that you do all this